I know from just watching the two videos there were a few questions around the four pieces of the puzzle that the story represented. On the first part, we've learned from the Marshman about the ancient order of the Dragon Riders, one formed way before the rise of Guardians, as well as their descendants, being the Dragon Slayers and Guardians. The second piece, which has Ashen relaying his story and meeting with the farmers that later became the legendary Dragon Riders, also confirms with what Sophorius said about their descendants. In the first part of the video Legend of the Dragon Riders, I said at the end that the best way to learn about the past life is by listening to those who bear first witness to it. That's where the third piece comes, in which has the riders themselves telling their story, and at the same time confirm what Ashen told us about their meeting and union. But we didn't find out about the Cataclysm of Doubt. I know, I'm getting there. From Kidra's story, we found the answer we were looking for about the Cataclysm of Doubt, which told us about the battle between the White Dragons and Riders that led to their disappearance. This particular part not only completes the whole story, but confirms everything the Riders relate from their rise, betrayal, and eventual death. Disclaimer: every bit of information you've seen or heard in my videos are just pure theories and hypotheses based on Adventure Quest 50 gear details, and are in no case related to the main questline, and if they are, well, God help me. Please do not attempt to copy any of these stories and claim them as their own, as they've been written with lots of care and passion by yours truly. With that being said, enjoy. Getting back to the real topic, when I first looked in the game at the information that was written about said armor, I knew that based on all that intel alone couldn't get me close to the truth I was seeking. So, how did I come up with all of this? The answer is simple. I've gone to some maps and looked for details that might give me an understanding of the ancient times. And what better place to find it than the Ashfall regions? Lower Firefields and Brimstone Ruins were the two maps that gave me the insight I was looking for. For a place that is called Ashfall, you would think everything is lava, ash, and volcanoes. But if that is the truth, then how do you explain the burnt trees around Lower Firefields? Of course, this alone doesn't prove anything. Next to Gibbs in Lower Firefields is a pond of lava surrounded by mobs. Somehow all that image didn't make any sense to me, but if you take a closer look, you might see the image of a wet pond surrounded by green trees, and beneath the islands, instead of a lava lake, a lake filled with water and different creatures swimming in it. That itself made me realize Ashfall was once a green place before the dragons claimed it as their own, and that was where the name Leafall came to life. For Brimstone Ruins, as the name suggests, used to be a great kingdom before it met its demise. That is also where the idea of the Great Dragon was reserved. It's only natural to say that this place became Ashfall from the long skirmishes between dragons and humans that lasted over the centuries, because only through a war a wasteland is born, hence the name Ashfall. As for the dragon graveyard, the graveyard itself is surrounded by skeletal bones of dragons and a few trees. When I saw those trees, forest was the first thing that came to mind. But this wasn't your ordinary forest, but a magical forest, hence why the color is so exotic, or in a fantasy only find such things. Elrond Wilds was the region where the Elena Forest, during Gravenau days, resides. Of course, everything I said so far is just a theory. The armor of the riders, as it goes by the information we had in the game, lost its colors over the centuries that passed from a long battles they've been through. Their disappearance altogether and this bit of information made me think that a big fight started between them that had led to their fall. Seeing so many Mashmen around the dragon graveyard also made me realize they'd been there when it happened. Actually, the Mashmen were there before the farmers came, meaning they are the real citizens of the forest and always have been. The skeletal Dravir you've seen in the dragon graveyard, from what I was able to come up with, are just lost souls who even after their death still perform their duty of protecting the said place. In the second part, Legend of the Dragon Riders, one of the writers described that the order wasn't just composed of humans but Dravir and Dragonlings too, each having a role of assistance. If that is right, then how come we didn't see any Dragonlings or skeletal Dragonlings for that matter? It's not like we haven't seen them, it's more like you already seen them. The Dragonlings in the graveyard like Alata are called fairy dragons, right? But what you don't know is that they were once fire Dragonlings. How is that possible, you may ask? Each region has a different kind of magic they use. To make it easy for you to understand, here are a few examples of regions featuring different types of magic. As you can see on the list, there are 7 types of magic, and those are nature, light, dark, dragon, soul surge, spirit, and ice. Nature can only be found in both Gringard and Hardwood Forest. Light and dark can both be seen used in Dumut and Darkovia. Dragon in the region of Ashfall, Soul Surge in the Underworld, Spirit in the World Tree practiced by shamans only, and last but least Ice, which you are already familiar with after the confrontation with the Frost King and his minions. Now that we know the other types of magic, it's time to get back to the reason why the fire dragonlings have become fairy dragons in the first place. The dragonlings first came to the Lina forest in hopes of living a life without the need of joining their kin in the war against humans. And after centuries of living in the said forest, their fire magic fused together with the magic of the graveyard, since it was and is a magic forest, which transformed them in the fairy dragons you see today. And with that, we have reached the end of episode 1 of the sub-series How Legend of the Dragon Riders. Now you know all the points that inspired me in giving the riders the story they deserved. Will there be another story like the Riders? As you probably know, the Dragon Graveyard has 3 saga stories. First one being the Dragon Riders, which you already seen, Marshron and Mashagan, Fairy and Fairy Dragonite. So the next story will more than likely be Marshron and Mashagan, followed after by Fairy Dragonite. With that being said, my name is Wolfin, this was Discussions with Wolfin and episode 1 of the sub-series How Legend of the Dragon Riders.